Hi everyone, welcome back. You're watching The Money Show on ET Now. Now let's take on board another new reform that Prime Minister Modi has just about brought about during the Parliament session that's been ongoing, and that is the new industrial relations law, to simply put it, a new labor law. What are the details? And as many of you who may be employed, who does it apply to? Also, for many of you who may be businessmen, what is the threshold of sorts of in terms of number of employees, turnover, etc. Is it that businesses will have to adhere to the new industrials law? I have with me Pooja, Ramchandani of Shardul, Amarchand, Mangaldas to talk about that, to simplify all your doubts. Pooja, thank you so much for joining us on The Money Show. Let's start off first by understanding who will it be applying to? Who is our audience here for the industrial relations law? To keep it very simple, which employees should currently pay attention to this bill, and which are the employers as well?
Hi Mubina, thanks for having me. The Industrial Relations Code will apply to all workers who are engaged in any industry to do any manual, skilled, unskilled, technical, operational or supervisory work. It, however, excludes those who are in managerial or administrative capacity and those in supervisory capacity drawing a monthly wage in excess of 15,000 rupees. In terms of which employer does it extend to, it would extend to all employers, because industry has been given a very wide definition and it includes any systematic industry where there is any work which is being undertaken.
Pooja, let's start off first from an employer perspective, because a lot of our viewers are also small-time business owners, etc. So for an employer, is it going to be increased compliance costs? I mean, how will it affect the life of a businessman who may be operating a factory perhaps, or who may be having a retail shop for all you know? How is it going to impact their life? First, from an employer point of view.
Sure. So the Industrial Relations Code, much like the existing regime, seeks to consolidate three legislations, first of which is the Industrial Disputes Act, the other is the Trade Unions Act, and the third is the Standing Orders Act. Essentially, these three legislations provide for various protections in terms of layoff, retrenchment, closure of establishments, transfer of establishments, conditions of employment, formation of trade unions, etc. So from an employer perspective, a few things have changed. Like, for example, the code has introduced a concept called fixed term employment. Now, this is not a new concept as such, but with a specific introduction to this code, it extends fixed term employment to all industries. Currently, fixed term employment is limited to the garment industry and apparel industry, and to all industries coming under the control of the central government. So once this code comes out, even private players would be able to hire fixed term employees subject to the requirements prescribed under the code.
And now let's understand from an employee perspective, what exactly does the bill entail? Does it increase their rights, so on and so forth?
Sure. So from an employee perspective, let's first look at how it seeks to protect the employees. So as I was saying that the bill prescribes for various protections. Some of them are providing notice before retrenchment, providing compensation in case of retrenchment or closure, ensuring no less favorable terms of service in case of transfer of employment pursuant to transfer of an establishment. So these are some of the protections. In case of establishments that are factories, mines or plantations, where the number of workers engaged are 100 or more, there is a prior approval from the government which is required, and this is with respect to layoff, retrenchment or closure of an industrial establishment, for which you need to take the prior approval. Interestingly, while this number threshold is maintained as 100 as is in the current regime, the governments have been given the flexibility to change this number by way of a notification. And it also further goes on to say that state governments where this number has already been increased, like for example in Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh, Haryana, this number was increased to 300 some time ago. That will continue to prevail.
Pooja, you know, there's something that you've mentioned about fixed term employment. What does that introduction of that mean essentially for both business as well as employees?
Sure. So the fixed term employment is a concept, as I said, which is not new. When it comes to business, it gives a little more flexibility now to employers to engage workers for a fixed period depending on their business needs.
Yeah.
So there is flexibility there, and to some extent there is a reduction in, you know, the administrative compliance for short-term employees. When we look at what this brings for the employees, the definition of fixed term employment has been drafted in a manner to include certain protections for fixed term employees, and what it says is that where fixed term employees are going to be doing the same kind of work or similar work as that of permanent employees, they need to be treated at par. And by that, what it means is that they need to be provided with the same wages and the same hours of work, the same allowances and the same conditions of employment, including benefits. Much like the Social Security draft code also, the result of this would be that fixed term employees could probably be eligible for getting gratuity at the end of their employment or even before, if there's a termination before expiry of the period.